Hey guys, Ken Crane and Britt London coming to you here from the PLEA office. It is Friday, July 28th. It's been a while since we've done a video message to membership, so we want to take a few minutes here to cover some topics, relevant topics that are of concern to the membership and some things that have come up. First thing I want to touch on is the PLEA election. As you guys know, the election is in process. It is finally winding down. You will have 4 days left to cast a ballot, including today. So balloting will officially close Monday the 31st at 5 p.m. So if you have not voted, we would encourage you to do so. Take part in the process, be a part of your association. Your vote is going to help determine the future of PLEA. Next thing we want to talk about is a topic that's caused a lot of concern as of late, and that is changes to the department's transitional or light duty, I should say light duty and permanent light duty program. It is being renamed Transitional Duty. There's a lot of changes coming down. New policy is being generated. As of this time last week, the policy was still in draft form and had not been finalized. What we're being told is the department is trying to change their policies to come more in line with federal law when it comes to light duty type personnel. So a lot of you have heard a lot of rumblings and rumors, things about going to callback, and what we've been told is the department's trying to get a handle on just how many light duty people that we do have. Nobody really knew the answer to that question when the city asked, and so all bureau commanders were being told they need to identify light duty people, and there's a system in place where everybody who's light duty is supposed to eventually be routed through callback, so you can be assessed, so your medical condition and doctor's records can be assessed, so the city and department can find out exactly where you're at. Once they assess you, then based on your skill sets and your current medical records or restrictions, the department will then place you in a light duty work assignment where they feel you can best be utilized. In some cases, this may result in you getting put back exactly where you came from. In other cases, it may not work out that way. So just so you know, PLEA's position on this new policies are coming down is we're advocating what we call a bright line policy. And what that means is we believe if they're going to make a radical departure from the way we've normally been doing business, excuse me, on handling the light duty program, that it should be a bright line in the sand, so when the policy goes into effect, it's from that day forward. Anybody who's on light duty is subject to the new rules. Our belief is the people currently under the program should be grandfathered in and allowed to operate as is the custom with past pattern and practice that we've had for years on the department. We don't know if we'll be successful in that endeavor, but we will keep you posted. So right now, I'm going to turn it over to Britt, who's going to talk about some issues with use of force, DRBs, and questions from supervisors. Britt?
Thanks, Ken. So lately, the Use of Force Board has had some recommendations that we find very concerning, and they have the potential to affect us all. If you're not familiar with the Use of Force Board, you've never been to one, they make a recommendation to the chief based upon presentation by PSP and testimony from an officer. Well, the chief takes that recommendation and makes a decision as to whether your use of force was in policy or out of policy. So if you've never been involved with one, that's kind of scary. You don't know who's on the board. You don't know if they've ever used force. Occasionally, recently, the Use of Force Board just gets it wrong, in PLEA's opinion. So the chief met with PLEA, and she has decided that she will allow PLEA and the defected officer to meet with her prior to her making a decision, which is great. Thank you. PLEA is also involved in a new committee which centers around how a use of force board and how discipline review boards are proctored, run. We want more information out of them, and that committee has done well so far. I also want to talk about questions that you may get from supervisors from time to time. We get calls in the office, and some members just don't know what to do when they're being talked to by a supervisor. One of the questions that arises is, well, if I'm talking to a supervisor, he's asking me questions, and I think they border on me being investigated. What do I do? The fact is, if you are being questioned and you feel that any kind of discipline may result from those questions, you have the right to representation. Do not let a supervisor tell you that you cannot call PLEA. They don't make that decision for you. You call PLEA and we can come out and assist you. Even easier is ask the supervisor if you are being compelled to answer his questions. If the answer is yes, you're entitled to an NOI. If the answer is no, that conversation should probably end. And don't be afraid to get NOI. That is a negotiated protection for you that ensures that you know exactly what you're being questioned about. And it also keeps the investigator confined to the certain situation that they have written out on that NOI. But if you ever have any other questions, please call me or any of the guys at the office, 246-7869. And that's all I have, Ken.
Thanks, Britt. The one last couple topics we want to cover, a lot of you have heard stuff in the news about the PD changes to Operations Order 4.48, which is the immigration enforcement policy. PLEA's been out in the news a lot on this. We've got web posts and Facebook posts explaining our concerns with it. For those of you that don't know, as a result several years of SB 1070, one thing that occurred that that I guess came out of it that was done right was the way our immigration policy was written. So Ops 4.48 was born out of the SB 1070 fight. It was a very, very tightly constructed, well-written policy that complied with state and federal law. There was nothing wrong with it. It was about a 12-page policy, but it told officers what they could do, couldn't do, when they could do it. No gray areas. So I would argue that it prevented abuses the way that policy was written. It's important to note too that in the 5+ years that policy was in effect, we've had no complaints of racial profiling, bias policing, or officers just rounding people up and taking them to ICE. So we didn't think the policy was broken, but the mayor formed a committee, and the problem was, the committee was essentially stacked with leftist activist groups. Groups like ACLU, Puente, Black Lives Matter, a group called Justice That Works, and Center for Neighborhood Leadership. And a lot of the folks on these various groups are commingled with each other. They serve on each other's committees, but they all have a common theme and goal, and that is they're largely in favor of open borders, don't think there should be any rules, regulations, or restrictions on immigration, even to the point in some cases of telling our officers they cannot or will not ask anybody about immigration status. So the problem we have with that is we should be very wary of letting activist groups dictate policy and tell police officers when and how they can enforce the law. It's a very slippery slope to go down, and that's the big concern we have with it. We never had problems in the years past with people going overboard on immigration enforcement, and don't think that we were going to have that. So there will probably be litigation to challenge the new policy the way it's written. We don't necessarily believe that the new policy comports with state and federal law, and if that's the case, then it puts state shared revenues at risk and federal monies at risk. And this is should be a huge concern for all of us, because we're fighting to get more police cars. We're fighting to get more cops hired, and we're continually being told by the city that money is tight. So therefore, we don't understand why the city would want to do something that would put state shared revenues and federal monies at risk by essentially tinkering and changing a policy that was never broken to begin with. So that's just a quick update on that. We've got some info that's been put out on Facebook and the website. If you go to the website, you can read some more detailed information on that. With that, the last thing I want to leave you with is we'll just put a plug in for the charity ball that's going to go off on October 14th. You can buy tickets on the PLEA website. We would encourage everybody to attend this event. It's for a good cause. It's to raise money for PLEA charities. It helps cops and it helps the community. So we will leave you with that. Thanks for watching. And as Britt said, if you have any questions about anything, please do not hesitate to call us here at the office, 602-246-7869. Thanks and have a good one, guys.